Okay. Now, go back to our previous session. So we have discussed about the project unit options. So project unit options level, what options we have to enable or disable, like reporting options, business units, and the general information, particularly on the project numbering. And one more task we have discussed, which is a configure project numbering. And in the configure project numbering, somehow we have discussed about the override features. Okay. Also, lastly, we have discussed about what are the different statuses of your project, then how to change the project. Then once you submit a project, then to whom the approval notification will go. And once the approver will approve it, then how the project status will get changed. And these things we have seen in previous session. So in today's session, we are going to little focus on the project statuses only. Okay, the theoretical portion already we have seen in yesterday's session. In today's session, practically I wanted to show you how the status will be in the system, then how to configure the project statuses in the system. Okay, that is what we wanted to see. Okay, now let me jump into the system. Let me jump into the system. And because of we are in the configuration phase, and obviously we'll go to the setup and maintenance. And we can choose the setup as a project financial management, and we can go with the manage project statuses. Manage project statuses. Okay. So this is the task. These are the project statuses which will work across the PPM. Okay, across the PPM, irrespective of the business unit. For how many number of business units we are going to implement a PPM module. So for all the business units, these project statuses will get applicable. Okay. Now, if you see carefully, so these are the different statuses. Okay. So if I go through the our regular notes, so we have seen a draft, to submit, to approved or active, rejected, pending, close, and close. Okay. Now this is a filter option. If I search with a draft, and the draft I can see, and if I search with a submit, and submit I can see, and if I search with an active I can see, and this is a customized status. Okay. And if you want, we can create our own customized status as well based on the customer requirement. Okay. Then pending, close, and close. Okay. So there are many statuses which we can see as part of this particular screen, and we'll see one by one. Okay. See, if you think about the first column, this is a project status. Okay. This column, so if you want, we can maintain our own name as well. Okay. So normally the most recommended way is to use the standard project statuses only. Okay. But so far in my experience, I did not use any customized project statuses. Okay. So if really there is a chance of using the customized project statuses, I can create a customized project statuses here itself by clicking on the plus. But whenever you create a customized status, but that should be assigned with so one of the seeded project status only. One of the seeded project status only. Okay. Now the first column is talking about the status name. Okay, if you want, we can rename the project status. Okay. Now the second column is talking about the status type, whether the status is belongs to a project or any other modules or any other modules. Okay. If you carefully see the status type as a project and also a progress. Okay. If we go with the project execution management, we are going to track the progress. Okay. So for a progress and all, we have the different statuses. Okay. Your project progress, it may be a risk, or it may be a successful, or it may be a smooth or something. So these type of statuses we can see, especially as part of this progress. Okay, but we are going to consider our statuses which is of the system type as a project only. Okay, see, your project progress is in a trouble, your project progress is in risk, your project progress is on track. Okay, these are all the statuses which I can use on the project execution management, not on the project financial management. Whenever you see the project, the status type as a project, which I can able to use in the project financial management. Whenever we see the status type as a progress, those statuses I can able to use in the project execution management. That is what it is about, status type. Okay, then system status. Okay, these are the predefined statuses. These are the Oracle given statuses. Okay, if I wanted to create our own status, you just click on the plus, and the system will give us a chance to create our own status. Let me see Reliance underscore active. Okay, this status is belongs to the project financial management. And for this customized status, I'm going to assign one seeded status. Okay, if I expand this, these are the list of seeded statuses, and these statuses already we have discussed here in yesterday's session. Okay, now if I assign this active status, now this customized status is going to act as a active. If I assign this as a draft, and this will be acting as a draft, and if I assign this as a pending close, and this status will be acting as a pending close. So the nature of your customized status is always depends on the system status only. The system status only. That is the reason it's a no recommended way to use the customized statuses. Almost maybe 90 to 95 customers, they may use the standard statuses only. Only the remaining 5% of the customers, they may go for according to their business requirement and all. Okay, so that is what that is how we can create the customized status. Okay, so this is what it is, and the description we can provide, and what is the description of your customized status, and what exactly it will do. See, so this is the one standard one. Okay, the description the Oracle has given as this project is an active. Okay, so this is somebody has created it, but it is a duplicated one. Let me remove it. Okay, now this is also some other people has created it. It's not required. Okay, now you cannot delete this project status because it was provided with the application. Already we have used this active underscore one status for my project. That is the reason the system is not allowing us. Okay, that means in the system there are some projects which are in the status of active underscore one. That is the reason the system is not allowing to delete this particular status. Okay, now approved, the project is approved. This is also a standard one. Closed, the project is closed. This is also a standard one. That means the Oracle has given some description for each and every status. Then what is the from date and what is the to date? I don't want to use the seeded project statuses. I wanted to use my own project statuses according to the customer requirement. If that is the case, after you create all your customized statuses, then you can end date your Oracle provided project statuses. Otherwise, if you don't end date these project statuses, what happens? In the list of values, I can see the customized status. Also, I can see the Oracle provided project statuses, but user will get a confused which status I can change, right? That is the reason why we have to indate the project statuses which are provided by the Oracle whenever we use customized statuses. Okay. Otherwise, simply for my business, I can use only these. I can use only these. That means, so these statuses should be enabled. That means these statuses, we don't provide any end date for these statuses, and for rest of the statuses, we can provide the end date. That's it. Okay. Now, the initial project status, this is an important. So whenever you create a project, which status you can see by default. That means what is the initial status of your project when you create based on the project template or based on the project existing project. Okay, so that is what it is talking about. So whenever I enable this for a closed status, that means whenever you create a project will be in a closed status by default. Okay. Instead, whenever I have enabled this pending close, when you create a project, the project will be with a status of the pending close. Okay. The recommended is in the project, the recommended is for the draft, we have to enable a initial project status. Initial project status. Okay. This is a recommended way of enabling the initial project status as a draft. Sometimes the customer says, I don't want to implement any approvals. Okay. My requirement is whenever I create a project, by default, the project will be created with active status. No question of implementing approvals. No question of reviewing the project details by the project manager or finance manager or something. Okay. If that is the case, you can remove the initial project status checkbox for the draft, and you can enable this the same checkbox for the active. The same checkbox for active. Okay, but it is enabled. Okay, normally it is disabled. Okay, so it's all depends on the customer requirement, and we have to enable or we have to disable the options. Okay, now enable workflow. Enable workflow. So whether you are really implementing the approvals for your project statuses or not. Yesterday we had a lengthy discussion on it. Okay, let us say, see. So Fayaz has created a project by default based on our configuration. Project is created with a draft status. Fayaz is submitting a project. That means Fayaz is changing the status from the draft to the submit. So when Fayaz has submitted a project, one notification will go to the project manager. Project manager has to review all the project details before he approves it or before he rejects it. Once the project manager approves it, and this is submit option, this is submit status will get changed to the approved or active. Otherwise, once he reject it, and the submit button will change, the submit status will get changed to the rejected. This is how it is happening. That means here we are implementing the approvals. Okay. Whenever we are implementing the approvals, then only I can submit a project. I can submit a project. That means for a submitted statuses, we have to implement the approvals. When you change the status from draft to the submit, internally some trigger will work out. Okay. For a submitted status, if you really implement the approvals, that means if you really enable options for the submitted status, then the approval will go to the respective team members. The team member may be a project manager or finance approver or something. Okay. So if that is the case, if I go with a submit option here, if I go with a submit status, let us see, I have enabled this enable workflow checkbox because we wanted to implement the approvals for the project statuses. That is the reason I have to enable this particular checkbox. Once this particular checkbox is enabled, once the approvals are enabled here, immediately the project manager side or approver side, what actions he is going to perform. Maximum, he can approve the project. Otherwise, he can reject the project. Approve or active, both are same. Okay. Maximum, the project manager, after he reviews the project details, he can activate the project or he can reject the project. If project is created without any problem in a proper way, then the project manager can activate it by clicking on the active button or approve button. Otherwise, he can reject it. Got it? That is the reason. Based on the options, based on the statuses which we give here, the project manager can perform those two actions. Okay, that is how we can implement the options. Sometimes whenever you go for the interview, the interviewer may ask you a question, then how to implement the project status approvals. Then simply you can say, you go to the project manage statuses and there is a status called the submit. For that, we have to enable a workflow option by mentioning The status after change accepted, status after change rejected. These are the workflow attributes. Okay. Now, if I go with the pending, for a pending close, I wanted to implement the approvals. Is it possible? Logically, it doesn't make sense, right? Logically, it doesn't make sense. Okay. Otherwise, if you wanted to implement the approvals for the pending close, I have to enable workflow, and I have to provide these two statuses as well. Okay. Then similarly for close also. Okay. The recommended way is to implement the approvals only on the submitted status. Okay, that is what it is about. Okay, what is the status name? What is the status type? What is the system status is assigned? What is the description? What is the start date and end date? What is the initial status? And whether you wanted to implement the approvals or not for your project statuses. That is what it is talking about here. Okay. Next, very, very important. Okay. Whenever I select any status here, okay, let me select the draft. So every status should have a status controls and the next allowable statuses. Okay. So what is meant by the next allowable statuses and what is meant by the status control? Okay. What controls the Arkil has given at the draft status? What controls the Arkil has given at the approved status? What controls the Arkil has given at the closed status? Okay. Now, my selection is on the draft. That means draft specific status controls I can see here. Okay. If you come down and if you carefully see, create a new transactions. Is it possible? This checkbox is not enabled. That means create a new transactions is not possible at the draft status. Okay. Adjusting the transaction, like I have to transfer the transaction from one project to another project. I have to reverse the transaction. These type of adjustments I wanted to perform. But so whether you wanted to perform these type of adjustments when your project status is a draft or not. Okay. So if this particular checkbox is enabled, even though your project status is a draft, still you can able to perform the adjustments of your transactions. In the interview, the question from the interviewer side, can I enter the transactions when your project status is a draft? Logically, no. But as per the system, there is a provision. If you change the options, definitely we can enter the transactions, even though your project status is a draft. Okay, let me, by default, it is not enabled, right? Create a new transaction. So let me enable this. If I enable this, even though your project status is in the draft, still the system will allow you to enter the transactions. This is what you can respond with the interviewer. Okay, but logically it doesn't make sense, right? Okay, that is the reason Oracle has disabled it. But if there is any requirement, we can enable all these options. If you enable all these options, even though your project is in a draft status, I can adjust the transactions, I can do the capitalizations, I can do the capitalization interest, I can enter the burden specific transactions, I can create a new transactions, and I can summarize the project data and everything I can do if you enable all these options. But by default, these options are disabled. Okay, now if I go with the pending close, so if you carefully see, so the few controls are enabled here and the few controls are not enabled here. So create a transaction. So normally I don't want to enter any new transactions when my project status is a pending close. Okay, I have to do some adjustments. I have to do capitalizations and remaining stuff I wanted to do when my project status is a pending close. Got it. Okay. So then if I go with the submitted, okay, then what actions I'm going to perform here? Okay. When my project is submitted, logically, I don't want to perform anything. Okay. When the project is submitted, that means somebody is reviewing your project. While reviewing the project by somebody, it's like a project manager or finance manager, and you don't need to enter any transactions, and you don't need to do any actions on the project which is in the submitted status. Okay, just 1 second. No? So, so this is how we can use it. And if I go with active, if I go with active, for an active status, almost all controls all controls are enabled by default. It makes sense, right? When your project status is an approved or active, and everything is possible. Okay. Then when it is closed, okay, when it is closed, nothing we have to do. No controls are enabled when your project status is closed. My construction is complete. My construction is started. That time it is in the draft mode, and later I have to change the status to active. Then I can start putting the expenses on my construction. Finally, after 1 year or 2 years, my construction is over. Simply, I can close my construction project with the status of the close. Even after your construction is completed, you don't have any expenses to enter the transactions, right? Okay, that is the reason there is no question of enabling all these options when your project status is closed. Okay, so that is the reason. So that is all about the status controls. And the next thing is the next allowable controls. Next allowable controls. Okay. I am keeping my cursor on the I am keeping my cursor on the draft. Now I go with the for a draft, I go with the next allowable statuses. Okay. Next allowable statuses. I can see few options here. I can see few options here. So if I mention all, when your project status is all, when your project status is a draft, when you wanted to change the status from draft to any other status in the list of values, I can see all the statuses. That is what the meaning of all. That is what the meaning of all. I don't want to see any status in the list of values. Simply you can put none. Okay. Otherwise, specifically, if my project status is a draft, next, I don't want to see all the statuses. From a draft, next maximum, I can submit a project. Other than submitting a project, nothing I can do. That means only one status I can see in the list of values. Only one status I can see in the list of values. Okay. If that is the case, I may go with the system status. I may go with the system status. Okay. Now if I go here, let me show you something. So to make it very clear. Now what happens is projects and project financial management. You forget about this nonsense. Okay, later we'll discuss very in detail. Let me open one project. Okay. Now I can change this project to draft. Okay. I can change this project to draft. Now my project is in the draft. If I go to the change status, what happens? I wanted to change this draft status to active or submit or pending close or close, etc., etc. Okay. If I expand this, almost all the statuses I can see here. Just give me 1 minute. No? Close the door. Close the door. Okay. Here I can see all the statuses, right? All the statuses. Why I can see all the statuses? Because for the draft here I can see all. That is the reason here I can see when I expand it, all the statuses I can see. Okay. Instead, if I change it to the system status, okay, and you give the plus, and only after draft I wanted to see submitted only. Now let me save it. Okay. Now you go back to your screen. You click on done. You refresh the instance. You refresh the instance and let me go with the status. And now see, can I see only one status? Because my configuration is like that. For a draft, my configuration is next allowable status is, no, it doesn't, it is not changed. Actually, the change is reflected in the process. Okay, but somehow, let me see. Yeah, see, the draft status, the next allowable status, as per our configuration, we have given the system status, that is a submitted. After draft, maximum I can see only one status, which is a submitted. Otherwise, if I give you none, okay, let me click on save and close. If I go here and if I refresh this, and if I go to draft, see, nothing is there. So based on your configuration, the data will get reflected and visibility in the process side. Hope you understand. Okay. Otherwise, the few projects are on the active status, right? Few projects are on the approve. This is an active status. So when your project is an active status, next maximum, you can change it to the pending close. Okay. Otherwise, somebody wants to change it to the pending close and somebody wants to change it to the closed. That means, as per the customer requirement, I'm maintaining next allowable statuses as a pending close and close for the active status. So that whenever you see the project status as an active, the next allowable statuses, I can see only two things. One is a pending close and the next one is a pending close. See. Normally, when I go with this, next I can see all because of for an active, the next allowable status is all. Instead, I wanted to maintain the system status. Now I can go with a pending close, and next I can go with a close. Okay. Now you can go here and you can refresh the page, and now you can open the project status. Can you see now? I can see only two statuses. That is the reason I can say process is always depends on the configuration. Process is always depends on the configuration or setups, irrespective of the module. It is a financials module or a SCM module or a PPM module or any other modules in Oracle applications. Okay. Any questions so far? Yeah, question from Sai. After a draft, can we create our own next allowable status, next allowable steps as per the client requirement? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Fayaz. If I see there is another option, status name. This option will help us. For that. Okay. See, here you can give you, this is a customized one. And here, this is the one I can use it. Hope you understand.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Sir, can we generate a report of these project statuses? Or can we upload these projects to any Excel?
Project statuses are more or less less than 10 only. Okay, what is the need of uploading?
No, if they are more than 100 or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
for uploading the project statuses at one shot, right?
yes.
At one shot, no, there is no feature.
Okay.
Maximum every customer they can able to use a 5 to 6 statuses. That too, the standard ones only. Even they may go with the customized ones, maximum 10. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. If you wanted to see this whole data, there is a feature for downloading. If I click on this and this whole statuses will be extracted to the Excel sheet.
Yeah, this is what
Sir,
I want.
sir, in this report, can we get it from project wise?
No. Only the status definition. These are the status definitions. So that's it.
Okay. I mean, maybe my question is different. So we can we see these statuses with project wise for the each project?
Project wise, if you wanted to see the statuses in the project screen itself, I can see.
No. To show in any particular review color kind of thing. So if you want to see the every total projects with its respective statuses, can we get such list from here?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
See, this is a project list, right? Okay.
right. This one.
With all the projects I created, I can see. Okay. Now, if I go with extract here, and this whole project list will be downloaded to Excel sheet, and I can see the project different projects with the different statuses.
Yeah. This would be helpful. Thank you.
So, sir, but this will show only the project that you have created, right?
Yeah. Because of this is my login.
Yeah. Okay.
This is my login. That is the reason.
So, irrespective of user, like who else is created, do we have any listing report to fetch all the projects that was created?
There is a feasibility in the OTBI report.
OTB. Okay.
You need to create one OTBI report to fetch all the project related list. Otherwise, we have a one standard report also available for fetching all the projects which are in the active status or which are in the draft status or which are in the closed status, and everything we can see. It's a very simple report is available. If you run it automatically, we can see the list of projects with the different statuses. Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, with a ServiceNow ticket, can we create any project here in PPM?
No. That is a different product and this is a different product. In a ServiceNow, we are going to create a tickets. Okay, whatever the issues which the user is facing, the user is creating the tickets in the user is creating the tickets for their issues. Okay, the ticket has many statuses like the ticket is in the new status, the ticket is assigned status, and the ticket is closed status, and ticket is permanently closed, the ticket is in work in progress status, and those are the different, that is a different product. Only for the tracking, issue tracking.
Yeah, I know, but I think we can integrate with that ServiceNow. Somewhere I read that.
Yeah, we can integrate with the ServiceNow, but these things we cannot use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. See, and the next thing is, and very important one. So if you carefully see, yeah. See, so far we have covered these many setups. Okay, business unit, enabling the PPM options, etc. Okay, till this. Okay, different statuses of the project, and we went to the manage project statuses, and we could see what are the different statuses are available, then how it will help us in the PPM application. Okay, and next thing is we wanted to focus on the expenditure categories, revenue categories, and the expenditure types. Before I wanted to go ahead and discuss about these things, just let me give you the brief introduction. The introduction, and now we'll jump into these setups or configurations. Okay, now so we know we have a project. It may be a construction project or the retail project or a telecom project or any other project. Okay, so if there is a project, we have to enter if there is a project, we have a many expenses. Okay, that means we have to book a cost. We have to always the project specific cost I can enter in the form of a transaction, That too, if I wanted to enter my transactions in Oracle applications, so we have a different modules. Okay, I can go to the finance modules and I can enter the transactions, and later I can import the transactions into the PPM module. And if I go to the OTL, I can enter the timesheets, and later I can import the transactions into the PPM. Okay, we have so many other modules in Oracle applications where I can enter the transactions for my project. Later I can import it into the PPM module. Okay. At very high level, I wanted to enter a transaction for my project. Okay. So whenever you enter any transaction in Oracle applications, irrespective of the module, whenever you enter any transaction, then how do I know whether this particular transaction is specifically for the PPM or not? Specifically for a PPM or not? Is it a PPM specific transaction or normal transaction? Then how do I differentiate the transaction? Okay, for that, at the time of entering the transaction, what happens is we need to provide some project information. Simply, in other words, we can call as a POET, P-O-E-T, which stands for project and organization expenditure type task. Project information, nothing but these are 5 fields we used to call as a project information or POET information. POET information or project information. That means here we are entering a transaction. For which project you are entering this transaction? The project has segregated into the multiple tasks. Within this project, for which task this transaction is entering? What exactly is the expense you are entering for your project? From which organization you are entering this particular transaction? On what date you are entering this particular transaction for a project? That is what this project that is what this project information will will differentiate the transaction. Okay. The project, whenever you see the project, this type of project information in the transaction screen, then simply imagine this transaction is specifically for the PPM. If you don't see these columns will be there in every transaction screen. But if you provide the data for these columns in a transaction screen, then you can imagine that is from the PPM transaction. If you see these columns and if you don't provide any data in these columns, then you can imagine that is a transaction, that is a normal transaction, which is not specifically for the PPM. That is how we can differentiate. Okay, come down. Now, account payables is the module. Account payables is the module where I can go and I can create a supplier invoices. Account payables comes under the financials module, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So account payables is the module which comes under the financials module, and here we wanted to create the supplier invoices. Okay. For example, my project is a construction project. I go to one shop and I'll buy some cement for 100 tons or 1,000 tons or something. Okay. I got a bill for 2 lakhs. Then I'll go to the account payables module. I can create an invoice because the supplier owner, the shop owner has given a bill. That bill I can call as a invoice copy for me. But in Oracle application, somewhere I have to register this particular supplier invoice into the system. That is the reason I can go to the AP and I can raise a supplier invoice. But the question is, while raising this supplier invoice, I am running my constructions in the different locations. Okay, for example, one is in Gachibowli, other one is in Kondapur, and other one is Housing Board, etc., etc. So now you bought a cement. For which project you bought this cement? For which construction you bought this cement? Is it happening in the Gachibowli or Kondapur or Housing Board? Okay, that is what we are going to mention. For which project you are creating the supplier invoice, for which task you are creating this, and for what exactly is an expense type is here, and from which organization you are entering this, and from on what date you bought these materials. Okay, Simply, I can go to the AP and I can create a supplier invoices by providing the project information, and later I can import the supplier invoice into the PPM. How it will get imported into the PPM, that's a different story. Okay. Similarly, for a one project, you are working for 8 hours in a day, weekly 40 hours and monthly 160 hours. But the company people, officially you have to register your 160 hours monthly in a system. Weekly 40 hours you wanted to register in the system. Nobody knows whether you are working or not. Got it? Somewhere you have to register that 8 hours daily I'm working for this particular project. Okay. If that is the case, I can go to the OTL module in Oracle application where the employees has to create a timesheets by providing this project information. Later, these timesheets will be imported into the PPM. Okay. Similarly, you got an on-site opportunity and you went for the on-site opportunity. You went for the on-site customer location, and during this on-site proposal and all, the company people will give some money to you in advance. Like whenever you back to India, you have to submit all your expenses. Like so, $400 is my local transportation, $500 is for my food, and for accommodation I spent $1,000. Something you have to enter the expenses somewhere in the system. Okay, that system is an expense management where we have to create expense reports by providing this information. Later, this expense report will be imported into the PPM. Okay. Now, inventory. So, in the inventory, nothing but a godown where we can maintain our stock. As my construction is happening in the different location, bulkly, I wanted to purchase the materials or machineries in a bulk, and I wanted to keep in a godown. Sometimes whenever I wanted to use it, and simply I can take from the godown and I can utilize it. Okay. The godown is nothing but an inventory. Okay. So from the inventory, I can receive a material and I can issue the material towards the projects. Okay. So issuing the materials against a project, and this is the one transaction by providing this information, and later I can import the transaction into the PPM. In the procurement, we have so many transactions specific to the PPM. We have requisitions, POs, PO receipts, and these things are entering by providing this information, and later these transactions will get imported into the PPM. Okay. Later, within the PPM also there is a provision to enter the transactions like miscellaneous transactions, usage transactions, labor transactions, etc. And everywhere we have to provide this information. And whenever you create a transaction within the PPM, that will get placed in a temporary location. From there, we wanted to move it into the permanent location. So we have to import those transactions as well. The transactions will be placed in the interface tables later, which will be fetched into the base tables. It is a temporary location and it is the permanent location. Okay. Which is a temporary location. Okay. And which is a permanent location. Okay. See, so these are the couple of modules where I have to enter the project's PPM specific transactions by providing this much of project information. Out of these fields, out of this project information, and one of the important thing is the expenditure type. Expenditure type. Okay. Expenditure type, nothing but where exactly you are keeping your expense, where exactly you are spending the money from your own pocket. Like you have a construction project, you have started your construction, and your expenses are on the cement, steel, iron, bricks, sand, labors, supervisors, and some electricity materials like switches, boards, fans, POP materials, and you are spending the money on these items. So I used to call these items as a expenditure types. What type of expenditure you have? Expenditure or expense, both are same. What type of expenditure you have towards your construction project? Okay. Sometimes we are grouping few type of expenditures under one umbrella, like switches, fans, electricity boards, cables, And these items I wanted to keep under one umbrella like electrical items. Electrical items is a expenditure category. Under this category, we have a grouped some expenditure types like switches, fans, electric boards, and cables, etc., etc. Got it? Expenditure type is nothing but what type of expenditure you have towards your project. Where exactly you are spending your money. That is what it is. That is what it is. And grouping of expenditure types into one umbrella, which is nothing but expenditure category, which is nothing but a expenditure category. Okay. Now let's come down here. Come down. Let us see. I can use, let us consider we have a construction project, okay? And these are the materials I can use. For example, for our discussion, we have mentioned these are the materials. Cement, steel, sand, bricks, POP. That means these materials I have grouped under one umbrella, which is a constructions material. And these things I can call as expenditure types, and this is an expenditure category. Okay. Ladders, pavicals, tiles, these are the expenditure types, and these things I can group into one umbrella. This is a POP materials or something. And concrete mixers, tractors, trucks, cranes, and these things we wanted to take in a rented basis, and we can utilize it for 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, and we can pay the money, and that's how I can able to utilize these machineries. So these machineries I can group under one umbrella, which is a construction machineries. Okay. The daily laborers are there, and the supervisor is there, civil engineer is there, and these things are comes under the labor. Okay. So finally, what I wanted to say here is these are the expenditure types, and these are the expenditure categories. Got it? Now, I can go to the account payables and I can create a supplier invoice by providing the project information. Like I wanted to enter for which project, for which task, and for which expenditure type. So these are the expenditure types I can enter in the transaction screen. Later I can import it into the PPM. Got it, ma? Any questions here?
Sir, where this coding will be happen? Is it in PPM or in relevant other application like in inventory?
This is completely a configuration, PPM configuration.
Okay.
We have to do it in the PPM only.
Okay. So if you go up little on the AP side, can you please go up, scroll up? Yeah. So for the AP. So here the supplier invoices or vendor invoices, which we are entering into the PPM or in AP?
No, in AP.
In AP. And while entering the in AP, we should give the project number and all. Then only it will be reflected as a particular expenditure against such project, that particular project.
Yeah. Which item you bought? That expenditure details we can provide.
Okay. So while entering this expenditure against particular vendor, so there it will ask, right, to key the project number or something related to this project.
Yeah.
So that hard coding that we need to do for that vendor.
No. The expenditure types, projects, organizations, it is no way specific to vendor or any some other thing. It will be available across the system. Across the system. Now, the project and task is available in the PPM, but now we are in the account payables.
So
still your project will appear in the project field. Still the task will appear in the task field. Still the expenditure type will appear in the expenditure type field.
Okay, but here the question is, how the AP guy will know that this vendor invoice is related to this project? How he coded?
No, basically, the users are different. Okay, whenever they get a hard copy, the hard copy which consists of all the details, there is one proper. The team is available to communicate all these things. Okay, that may happen offline.
Okay.
So the users will get the clear-cut information on these.
Okay, so before scanning or inputting this invoice, so AP guy knows that this invoice related to this particular project or project number, then he has to code into that only.
Yeah.
That information would be offline.
Yeah, that too, that is a user job. We don't need to think about the user perspective. Okay, we are the consultants.
So
Okay, whenever the user is creating AP invoice and the user is facing an issue, I'm not able to see my project number in the project field. Then you should be in a position to resolve the issue. My
so
expenditure type is not appearing, and my project is not appearing. My expenditure organization is not appearing to create a supplier invoice. Then the ticket will come to you, and you can resolve the issue. That is how it should be.
that is how. So that is as our duty.
Yeah.
So maybe my question is a little weird. So how the user knows? So this project number is related to this invoice. Is that our duty or someone else?
It's not our duty. Okay,
Okay.
there may be some offline process will happen.
Okay.
So that is from the business side. That is from the business side.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So that is how it is.
Sir,
And
I have a question, sir.
yes.
So while entering expenditure and everything in the project side, not in the AP or data in projects, will that interface to AP?
Yeah, definitely. Once you do the setup, everywhere these things will get displayed.
Yeah, because we need to make the payment for that expenditure, right? So it should be interfaced to AP.
Definitely. It will display. That is the reason I can say these are project, task, expenditure type organizations, so which will be available across the system. Even though you implement 100 modules, these things will be available for all the modules.
Yeah, okay. It means like if project expenditure can be entered in AP, that will be interfaced to project, so that the project will be having all the track of their expenses.
Yes.
At the same time, if any expenses happen directly entered in projects, that will be interfaced to AP, so that we will be having a track on all the invoices which has to be paid.
No. We don't have such integration. Like we have an integration from AP to PPM, and we don't have any integration from PPM to AP.
So then how the payment for that expenditure entered in PPM will be paid, sir?
In a PPM, payment should happen in account payables. That you know very well. Okay. Only the project specific cost will be interfaced to the PPM. Except this, nothing usage. Okay. The invoice creation against an invoice payment, everything is happening in account payables module only. Okay. Even though in AP you create an invoice and validations and accounting also happening in the account payables itself.
Correct.
It will go to the GL. Accounting
Correct.
information also, it will not come to the PPM.
Correct. It won't come to PPM.
The invoice cost we are pulling into the PPM because this invoice is raised for my process. The process is in the PPM.
And here's the question. So how this will get pulled? That particular cost is related to this project. So where is that link we are giving to pull that invoice into this project?
That is architecture.
Very beginning we have discussed. Very beginning we have discussed at the time of discussion of the schedule process. Somehow we have discussed. Let me show you that as well.
But I'm sorry if I missed that one.
No. Already we have discussed. Just may recall that. That's enough. Okay. Somewhere we have discussed about the schedule process. Okay.
The interface supplier cost to pay.
In the schedule process. Okay, forget about this. Now, irrespective of the module, wherever you go and enter the transactions, that we wanted to bring it into the PPM. How? So, if we go to the tools and the schedule processor, there is a program. Which is import cost. Okay, import cost. See, now these are the parameters. Okay, this import cost program is what exactly it will do is it will go to the other modules, and if there are any transactions are eligible, and this program will fetch the transactions and keep it in the PPM. Okay, but your question is how this program knows which module I have to go and search for the eligible transactions.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, that's the
that
question.
is what.
Yes.
So here there is a transaction source. Transaction source. In the name itself, there is a meaning. The source, that means where exactly you are creating the project specific transaction. Source, that means a module. Account payable is a source where we are entering the supplier invoices. OTL is a source where we are entering the timesheets. Expense management is a source where we are entering the expenses. Inventory is the source where we are issuing the material, some transactions, etc., etc. Okay. Transaction source. In which source you are creating a transaction. Okay. Now, if I expand this, and here I can see, Oracle Fusion Time and Labor, and this is particularly referring to the OTL model, and which is referring to the account payables model, which is referring to the SEM, the purchasing model, and which is referring to the cost management model, and which is referring to our PPM model only, the last one. Okay, and these are the customized ones. Even though the Oracle has given a seeded, and these statuses are from the projects only. I mean to say the PPM only. Okay, just because of the system will refer to this particular field, the system knows in which module I have to go and I have to search for the eligible transactions. So we are going to discuss in detail. Okay, so far still we are in the configuration phase only. Okay, hope you got it, Fayaz.
I got it, sir. But yeah, but the thing is, if AP guy missed the coding, definitely that won't flow into the PPM. Correct.
Missing means what?
If he missed the entering any project number and all by seeing the invoice, definitely that won't flow into the PPM. So that they has to be very careful, right?
Yeah.
So it is not our duty, but still, that
No,
is
no,
the
it's
risk
not
there.
our duty. It's not
Yeah.
our duty.
But
Okay.
there is a risk of missing those costs are there from their side.
Sometimes, see what happens, user has created a cost, the supplier invoice. The actual invoice amount is $1,000. The invoice is created for $900 only. Okay. After this $1,000 is interfaced to the PPM, suddenly the user has realized like the invoice should be 900 only. It's not for 1,000.
Right.
So the Oracle has given to perform some kind of adjustments. Okay, you don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So we do have a many adjustments in the PPM, and they do have a many adjustments in the account payables like a debit memo, credit memo, concessions or something, repayments, etc., etc. Okay.
Good.
So we have a lengthy discussion. No worries going forward. It is all comes under the process only. Still, we are in the configuration only. Okay. Now, so hope you understand the expenditure categories and revenue categories. Okay, expenditure category and the expenditure types. Okay. Now I wanted to go and I wanted to set up this expenditure types. Okay. So whenever you wanted to set up these expenditure types, basically we wanted to provide the information at 3 levels. One is the header level. Like in the header level, I can provide what is the name of the expenditure type, what is the description, what is the start date, what is the end date, and for which expenditure categories you are associating this expenditure type. And these things we can see in the header part. When it comes to the second part, here we are going to associate the expenditure type class, and we are going to discuss in detail about this. Okay, in the third level, we are going to assign the reference set information. Starting from the day one now, we are using a US1 BU set as a reference set at the time of business unit creation. The same reference set we are going to use for our expenditure types as well, so that our expenditure types will be visible for our transactions. Otherwise, it will not be visible. Okay, I'll show you that as well. I'll show you that as well. Okay. Now let me go to the system. Let me go to the system and now manage expenditure types. See, let me apply the filter. I'll apply only one. Okay. In order to avoid the confusion, I'll apply only one. Okay. This is an expenditure type. This is like providing the header, the first level of data in the header. Okay. And this is the second level of data. And this is the third level of data. That is the reason we have segregated as a 3 levels of data. Okay. Here in the first level, I can provide the name, description, under which umbrella this expenditure type comes under. That means we wanted to associate this expenditure type under the category, which is the expenditure category, and also we can map the revenue category. And this field is particularly talking about the project billing model. We'll discuss. For now, we wanted to create one revenue category as a defaulted one. Okay. So whenever I wanted to create an expenditure type, so the setups required as an expenditure category and the revenue category. So before you come and do the configuration of expenditure types, make sure you should finish the expenditure categories and the revenue categories. Okay. That is the reason we go back to the expenditure categories and the revenue categories. Manage expenditure categories. Manage expenditure categories. Okay, let me open this. According to our notes. Okay, I am creating one expenditure category as a construction material. Description. Save. Okay, let me give you the standard data I am giving as. Okay. Except this, nothing. The configuration is done for the expenditure categories. Now you can go with the POP materials. Okay. Now you can go with the construction machineries. Now I can go with the labor. Labor is already existed, I think. Let me see. If I apply the filter here, and so that I should know. Yeah, labor is already available. So the expenditure category setup is done. Okay. Now I'll go for the revenue category. Manage revenue category. Okay. So basically it's a lookup. If you come down, we have so many types in the lookup. And let me create our own. Okay. Simply I can make it as a default. Okay. 1, 1, 9, 10, 51. Okay. For all. Okay. Nothing to say about this one. Don't worry. So revenue category is done. Now you go for manage expenditure types. Okay. Now let me click on the plus. 1 second. Yeah. Now if I go here, cement, the name of expenditure type is this, description is this, and it comes under the construction materials, which we have defined just now. The revenue category as the default. Where is the default? Okay, okay. So the description is showing here for all. Okay, maybe you can consider the other or not. Unit of measure, which is very, very important. Okay, unit of measure, nothing but sometimes whenever we are entering a transaction with this expenditure type, like you bought an invoice and I wanted to enter the invoice amount as a $300 or $400 or so maybe you should enter the amount in the form of a currency. It may be a INR or USD or AED or Singapore dollars or etc. etc. Okay, so here simply the unit of measure is currency. Simply the unit of measure is currency. Okay. So now I'll define the few more expenditure types and I'll tell you the remaining the unit of measures. Okay. Simply now if I go with the labors, if I go with the labors, okay. If I go with some equipments, okay. Let us consider these equipments. And for labors, we are giving the daily payments. For equipments, so we are giving the few equipments which we are utilizing in our construction premises. For concrete mixers, we are paying in a daily basis. For tractors, we are paying in a hourly basis. Okay, for cranes, we are paying in a daily basis. Okay. This we are paying in a daily basis, this we are paying in a hourly basis, and this we are paying in a hourly basis, daily basis, and this we are paying in a hourly basis. Okay, these are the UOMs. Whenever you go to the shop and you buy sand or cement, then the UOM should be currency. UOM, it should not be a day or hour or etc. etc. Okay, so directly you are making the payment in the currency. Okay, here for these, okay, we are making the payments, okay, in hourly wise. Per hour, if I utilize this concrete mixer for 2 days, hourly per day, 1,000 rupees. That means 2 days we have utilized, that means 2 days which is multiplied by 1,000 and we'll get a 2,000. This will be the transaction cost. Okay. Tractors we have utilized for the 500. Tractors we have utilized for the 5 hours. Okay. Hourly rate is a 200. Okay. 5 hours, that means 5 hours, that means hourly rate is a 200. 5 into 200, 1,000. This is a transaction cost. So that is how the UOMs are. The labors are always the civil engineers. We are making the payments in a monthly basis, and for the labors we are making the payments in a daily basis, daily, monthly, and these are all the hourly. Okay, these are all the UOMs. Okay, and the rate required checkbox, particularly this checkbox is useful whenever you wanted to make the payments, whenever you wanted to process your project specific cost in the form of hours, when you are making payments in a daily basis or hourly basis or something. Okay, for normal supplier invoices and all, it is not required. It is not required. For labors, if it is a software project, then we wanted to make the payment. So he is entering the time sheets in the form of hours, daily 8 hours. So our company is maintaining hourly rates, right, in the system. Based on that, the system will calculate the number of hours which is multiplied with the cost rate of the employee. If that is the case, rate required checkbox is required for your expenditure type, like a labor. For all these equipments, if I define these equipments as an expenditure types, for these expenditure types also the rate required checkbox is required. We have to enable. Because of we are making the payments based on this UOM currency. That means a certain rate, so we have to maintain for all these concrete mixers. Okay, here daily 1,000. That means day wise amount is 1,000. Okay, hourly amount is 200. Somewhere we have to maintain these rates in the system. That is the reason whenever I use these expenditure types, in order to utilize these cost rates and for these specific expenditure types, and the rate required checkboxes should be enabled. Okay. Now, proceeds of sales. This is particularly on the order management side, and this is not that much important for us. Okay. Then obviously the start date and end date. And every setup it should have a start date and an end date. Okay. Now we have provided the header level information. If you come down, we have set up the cement as an expenditure type, and we wanted to provide the information in the second level of data, in the third level of data. What is the importance of this? The second level of data which we are going to associate for our expenditure types. For our expenditure types. If I click on the plus here, I can see, if I expand this, I can see 9 different types of expenditure type classes. 9 different types of expenditure type classes. Don't get confused, very, very important. Something like it may confuse, but you don't confuse. Okay, we'll give the full clarity on this. So in the second level of data, we are going to map one of these 9 expenditure type classes. My question is, what is the necessity of associating these 9, one of these 9 expenditure type classes for your expenditure type? What is the necessity? What is the use of associating these expenditure type classes for your expenditure type? Okay, the reason behind this is these 9 expenditure type classes I have mentioned here. If you come down, if you see here, these are the expenditure type classes. See, straight time, overtime, miscellaneous, inventory, expenditure, expense reports, burden transactions. These are the expenditure type classes. Okay. Now, and this column is talking about the module. This column is talking about the module. That means where you are entering your transaction by providing the project information. Okay. Now in procurement, I can create a requisitions PO receipts. In AP, I can create a supplier invoices. In expense management, I can create employee specific expenses. In OTL, so timesheets. In a PPM, I can enter miscellaneous usage labor. In manufacturing, I can enter manufacturing transactions. In inventory, I can enter some inventory specific transactions. Okay. Irrespective of the module, wherever I go and enter the transaction, and every transaction is possible by entering the project information only. Out of the project information, expenditure type is mandatory. All project information is mandatory, but expenditure type we wanted to provide. Okay. Now we have defined so many expenditure types in the system. We have defined these, let us assume, we have defined all these expenditure types in the system. How these expenditure types will be visible in the other modules? That is what my question is. The setup or configuration which we are doing in the PPM, like a cement, steel, we are doing every configuration of expenditure types in the PPM. How these expenditure types will get visibility in the other modules like the procurement, AP, expense management, OTL, manufacturing, inventory, etc., etc. Okay, it's just because of by associating your expenditure type class with your expenditure type. Hope you understand, ma. This is a high level definition. Still we have a lengthy discussion. Okay, ultimately here you need to understand, like we have a expenditure types configuration in the PPM. Still those are reflecting in the other modules. It's just because of, for your expenditure types, we are associating the module specific expenditure type classes. Okay, let us see here. Straight time and overtime. These two are the expenditure type classes specifically designed for the OTL module. Okay. And supplier invoices. This is a design for the AP module. And miscellaneous transaction usage, and these two are designed for the PPM module only. And this is for the manufacturing. This is for the manufacturing, and this is for the inventory module, and this is for the PPM module, and this is for the expense management module. Now I'll take one example. So now if I go here, I have set up a cement. Okay, I bought 100 tons of cement. Now I got an invoice from the shop owner. I have to sit in front of the system as we are using the Oracle applications. I can open the account payables module and I can enter the transaction for my invoice amount by providing the project information. Okay. There I can see the project information like what is the project number, task number, expenditure type. In the expenditure type field, I can mention the cement. I can expand the list of values, and if I see the cement, I can select the cement over there. How the cement expenditure type is visibility in the AP module? Because for this cement, if I associate supplier invoices as a expenditure type class here, then only this cement is visible in the account payables module. Otherwise, it will not be visible in the account payables module. Hope you understand, ma? That is the reason I am pointing an arrow mark. Okay. Supplier invoices, I am pointing an arrow mark to account payables. Also, for your expenditure type, if you associate supplier invoices as a expenditure type class, your expenditure types will get visible in the account payables module, also in the procurement module, while raising a requisitions, POs, and PO receipts. That is what the usage of this expenditure type class. Hope you understand.
Yes, sir. So, but this
I'll
is
show you
affected
practically,
by-
I'll show you practically. Just give me one second. Okay. Similarly, I wanted to define one labor transfer. I wanted to define the labor specific expenditure type. For that, I need to associate either straight time or overtime so that the labor specific expenditure type will be visible in the OTL module. Otherwise, it won't be visible in the OTL module while entering the timesheet. While entering the timesheet, we have to provide the expenditure project number, task number, expenditure type, right? How that expenditure type will be visible in the OTL side, because of for your expenditure type, if you associate this straight time or overtime, then only it will be visible. Otherwise, it won't visible. I wanted to enter some usage specific transactions and this should be assigned. I wanted to enter some miscellaneous transactions and this should be assigned for your expenditure type. I wanted to see few expenditure type in the inventory. Okay, so this inventory expenditure type class should be associated. In the expense management side, if you wanted to see the expenditure types, and that should be associated with the expense reports expenditure type class. Okay, now I'll show you one example. I'll show you one example. For this cement, I have associated this. Okay, 1/1/1951. And third one is a reference set assignment. Starting from the day one, we are using this US1 BU set. Okay, let me click on the save. Okay, now the date range for this something, it is a date range issue. What is the start date here? 1/1/1951. 1/1/1951. Okay. Now I'll go to the account payables. I'll show you the invoice and I'll show you the project screen. So for payables, who are working on the payables and they can able to work on the payables and click on the create invoice. Click on the create invoice. Mhm. Every session we are facing some issue at the end of the session, right? The problem with an instance. Not sure.
So the expenditure type classes is a seeded one or
Seeded one only, if I ask.
Yeah.
The seeded one only.
Okay.
So no question of building the new ones. Yeah, still it is rotating. Meanwhile, we'll do one thing. So today we'll define the 5 to 6 expenditure types, and in a tomorrow session I'll show you. Okay. So the cement is done. Cement is done. Okay. No. Okay, we'll continue the session tomorrow. Then it's a waste of our time. Okay. Let me stop the recording. But whenever you come for the tomorrow's session, but make sure you should complete at least 1 or 2 times this recorded session, and you come for the next session so that you can understand. Okay. You don't forget it.
Okay.
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 Bye. Bye.